start the fight, breaking down the walls in the dead of night. I don't come for peace, I come for the storm. Fanboys melt quick when the truth gets warm. Saw content's high, I'm collecting those tears. Just got started, but I'm cutting through fears. I'm not here for brand deals, I'm not for sale. I expose your lies, rip off the veil.
With the new Direct that just happened, it looks like we finally uncovered Nintendo's big holiday title for this year, and believe it or not, it's none other than the Kirby Air Riders game. I'm not joking here, this is supposed to be the flagship release heading into Christmas, the type of game that Nintendo counts on to carry massive holiday sales, and out of all the options they had, they decided to go with Kirby Air Riders. Now let me be clear, I'm not saying that this game is going to be awful, but after watching the Direct, I walked away with the exact same feeling I had going into it, complete neutral. It didn't wow me, it didn't blow me away, it didn't get me excited to drop $70 on day one, it just existed. And that's the problem, Kirby simply isn't that franchise. Yes, people love Kirby, he's cute, he's iconic, and he has his fan base, but let's be real here, Kirby games don't sell anywhere close to what Pokemon or what Mario does. That's just reality. So why build your biggest holiday push around a brand that is historically mid-tier at best when it comes to sales? And let's be honest, we all know that Pokemon Legends ZA will actually be the real holiday title. That's the game Nintendo is counting on to carry them through Christmas. But here's the thing, I'm not even looking forward to it, because let's face it, the game just doesn't look that good either. And yes, I've heard the argument a million times, it's not always about the graphics. Sure, I can buy that at a $50 price point, but if you're charging mid-tier prices for a mid-tier presentation, that makes sense. But this isn't a $50 game, this is a $70 full AAA price release. At that price, I expect the graphics to be among the best in the industry, and not something that looks a half generation behind. And it's not just visuals. From what I've seen so far, I don't think there's going to be voice acting in the Pokemon Legends ZA either. And I'm sorry, but at $70, that's the bare minimum. We shouldn't be settling for silent characters in 2025 at a premium price tag. That's not innovation, that's cutting corners. Honestly, the release schedule would have made more sense if Nintendo slotted Kirby in October and kept Pokemon for November, like they always have with Pokemon. That way, you would have built up hype, rolled out heavy hitter for the holidays, and given Kirby its own spotlight without saddling it with the pressure of being the holiday title. Instead, they're banking on one thing, the name of Sakurai, the man who brought us one of the greatest fighting games ever made, Super Smash Bros. And yes, you can see his fingerprints in the design, but relying on Sakurai's legacy to sell a game that doesn't look or feel next gen, that's a gamble. Because here's the truth, Kirby Air Riders doesn't look bad, but it absolutely looks like a Switch 1 title. Graphically, it feels like something you could have played years ago. Maybe it won't run buttery smooth, maybe the frame rate will chug here and there, but the visuals, they're basically Smash Bros. Reskin. And that's where the frustration kicks in. Nintendo, you just released a new generation of hardware. Players expect next-gen graphics. They don't want last-gen visuals repackaged as a brand new $70 price point. That's ridiculous. One of the good things Kirby Air Riders might have going for it though, the one thing that could make it a standout compared to Mario Kart World is a story mode, and honestly at $70, that should be the bare minimum feature. Yet somehow Nintendo completely forgot that with Mario Kart World, which still baffles me to this day. Now, I don't know for sure if Kirby Air Riders will fully deliver on that, but the Direct ended with a cutscene that had some narrative weight, and it really made me stop and think, okay, so maybe there is a story mode here. If that turns out to be true, it could actually be one of the biggest reasons this game feels more complete than Mario Kart World. And when you start digging deeper into the Direct, you can tell the limitations are already baked into the concept. Kirby's world just isn't that big, unlike Mario Kart, which can pull from decades of characters, locations, and themes, Kirby's roster is naturally more limited. Nobody should have came into this expecting Mario Kart level variety. That's just being unreasonable if you did. Now, just because it has fewer characters doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. If they're high of quality, then that could be good. That being said, the characters that are here at least look fun. Meta Knight, for example, looks fantastic. The tracks, they didn't look bad, but they also didn't scream polish. They didn't have that layered depth of creativity that makes Mario Kart courses iconic and endlessly replayable. Instead, they look serviceable, safe, and fine. And for a spin-off racer that's supposed to compete for attention in the same space as Mario Kart World, fine doesn't cut it. That brings me to the biggest issue. Business sense. Nintendo is releasing two kart racers so close together. That's a bad decision, plain and simple. It risks cannibalizing your own audience. Why would someone shell out for Kirby Air Riders when they're still hooked on Mario Kart World or saving for Pokemon Legends ZA? Nintendo has been making questionable calls all generation, and unfortunately this feels like yet another one. And like I've said before, I've heard it 1,000 times from Nintendo fanboys. I don't play Nintendo games for graphics. I play them for fun, and look, that's fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that mindset. Games don't always need to look like PS5 Pro or high-end PC showcases to be enjoyable. Fun gameplay is the foundation of any great title, and Nintendo has historically excelled at that. But here's the thing, graphics do matter, especially when you're paying for a premium price tag. The Switch 2 isn't some bargain bin budget console. It's being marketed as a new generation system, and with that comes expectations. And when you actually look at what the hardware is capable of, when you look at the Switch 2 versions of Cyberpunk or even the WWE game, you can see the potential. Those games look solid. They run well enough. They're visually impressive to the point where you don't feel like you're losing out compared to the other platforms. The difference isn't massive. It's good enough. And that's the key, good enough for people to believe in the system. But the excuses I keep hearing, well, the PS4 to the PS5 leap wasn't that big, so why should people expect more from the Switch 2? And honestly, if the original Switch had been the PS4's level, I would completely agree. That would be a fair argument, but let's be real. The original Switch wasn't anywhere near PS4 quality. At its best, it was closer to a soaped up PS3 Pro. Let's call it what it is. That's the power level we've been working with for years. So when you go from a PS3 Pro level console to something that's closer to an Xbox Series, that is a massive leap. There is a world of difference between a PS3 Pro and an Xbox Series console, and pretending otherwise is just denial. So why shouldn't we expect the same leap in quality from Nintendo's own first-party titles? Why shouldn't we demand that their flagship games showcase that jump in hardware power? Why is it only good enough when Nintendo delivers games that still look last gen, even though the system clearly has more in the tank? At this point, it's not about being spoiled, it's about holding Nintendo to the same standards we do with every other company. And that's where the Nintendo community really frustrates me. I watched the reactions from some of these so-called leaders of the Nintendo fanbase when Kirby Air Riders was revealed. And you can see it in their faces. They weren't that impressed. They weren't blown away. Deep down, they know the game doesn't look next gen. But will they come out and say it? Will they hold Nintendo accountable? Of course not. They won't dare go against Daddy Nintendo. Instead, they spin it. They make excuses. They downplay the flaws because at the end of the day, they're more concerned about staying in Nintendo's good graces and keeping their fanboy audience happy than they are about actually demanding better. And the sad part, the Nintendo community deserves better than this cycle of excuse making and damage control. They deserve content creators who are willing to be honest, to push back, to call out Nintendo when the company delivers less than it should. They deserve people who aren't afraid to say this isn't good enough, we expect more. Because if the fans never demand more, Nintendo will never give more. And that's where I come in. I'm not here to sugarcoat things. I'm not here to protect Nintendo's image. I'm here to call it out like it is and give this community the class of content creators it deserves. one who actually respects the audience enough to tell them the truth. At the end of the day, I just don't see Kirby Air Riders selling well. Sure, I could be wrong. Kirby fans will always show up and nostalgia might give it a temporary boost. There will be people who buy it simply because it's Kirby, because they grew up with the pink puffball, and because Nintendo has a loyal fan base that will support almost anything they put out, or maybe they'll buy it just because there's no other games really to play. But as a mass market holiday blockbuster, I don't buy it. It doesn't have the broad appeal. It doesn't have the same cultural reach as Mario Kart, Mario platformers, or Pokemon. It feels like a mid-tier title that Nintendo is trying to dress up as a premium release, and I don't think the general audience is going to take the bait. And then there's Pokemon Legends ZA, the real holiday juggernaut. The game will almost likely outsell Kirby without even breaking a sweat. But here's the uncomfortable truth, even Pokemon is showing cracks. Yes, it has its brand recognition. Yes, it's one of the biggest IPs in the world, but you can't hide behind brand loyalty forever. The game is already shaping up to have its own set of problems. Stale visuals, limited features, no voice acting, and those issues can't be completely covered up by the Pokemon name alone. Maybe it'll still move millions. But at $70 a pop, players are going to notice when the product they are getting doesn't live up to the price tag. And that's really the core issue. Price versus value. For $70, people expect more. They expect games that look, feel, and play like they belong in the modern generation. They expect voice acting, cinematic presentation, polish, and ambition. They don't expect something that looks like it could release 5 years ago. They don't expect recycled graphics, reused mechanics, and safe design choices dressed up as new. At $70, the standard is higher, and if Nintendo isn't willing to meet that standard, then they shouldn't be charging the same premium that Sony, Microsoft, and other developers are charging for games that do push boundaries. The Nintendo community deserves more than just good enough. They deserve more than constant excuses. For years, the narrative has been Nintendo doesn't need cutting-edge graphics. Nintendo's about fun, and that's true to a point, but fun and innovation are supposed to go hand in hand, and lately, Nintendo has leaned too hard on nostalgia and safe formulas. Fans want ambition. They want bold new ideas. They want risks. They want to see Nintendo prove that the Switch 2 isn't just a slightly or shiny version of what came before. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about Kirby, it's not just about Pokemon, it's about what these two games represent. Nintendo's attitude towards its audience, are they willing to evolve, to innovate, to actually deliver next-gen experiences that justifies the hype and the price tag? Or are they going to keep coasting on brand loyalty, milking nostalgia, and expecting people to pay premium prices for games that look and feel last gen? If Nintendo wants to thrive in this new generation, they need to wake up. Fans are smarter, expectations are higher, and competition is tougher than ever. People want games that feel like they're worth 70. They want ambition, they want innovation, and above all, they want something that truly feels next gen. And now it's time to read off the members of the channel. We got Koros Ejected, Maximilian Pegasus 88, Madfox 94, Shade Milkman, Oh No is Justin, Brian Payne, Andy Ritz, Jay Wesby 65, Steve Stars Piplup, Astrius Lane, Maximus 2400, John Molina, and Dustin 360. Thank you so much for becoming part of the crew. And if you truly enjoy this content, why don't you think about becoming a member? It's only $1 a month. You get special emotes, badges, and you get a shout out at the end of each video until it becomes too long, and then it'll be turned into a credit roll. And also, I got an awesome merch lined up for you guys. I got amazing shirts, hoodies, I got coffee mugs, I got desk mats, I got a bunch of different kinds, so why don't you check it out also. And please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, stay vigilant.
You can cry in the comments, but you won't survive. Like and subscribe if you feel that vibe. We're hot and salty.